Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Colt and Larissa.
Come on, you guys are going to play inside while we have grown-up time. Come on.
Hey, Larissa, you want to sit here? Right here?
Take your hair.
I am concerned about this relationship. I don't think that they love each other. I don't think that they are good for each other. And I don't think she actually appreciates everything that he does for her.
I need to take this food in real fast.
So how is everything, guys?
Yeah, we're doing good. Larissa and I were looking at houses, trying to figure out space, living with Debbie and everything.
So Larissa is tense because the friend has come over who previously grilled her, perhaps unfairly, about her intentions. And she is now upset about that. Now, why would that be? Well, underneath it is a fear of being criticized or rejected or called out or humiliated or something the way she was last time. And we've seen enough of her behavior to be able to predict what defense she's going to engage in. And my prediction, I have no way of knowing, we'll watch what happens, is that she will adopt what I might call kind of a bratty persona, someone that has a lot of attitude, eye-rolling, that kind of vibe. Of course, I don't think it's going to go over well with people, so let's watch what happens. So I just want to chime in here and say that in the last episode, I discovered that Larissa pronounces her name Larissa. And so I was like, oh, I didn't know she pronounced it Larissa, and I started calling her Larissa in the episode. After I recorded it, I started wondering, wait, am I doing that pretentious thing that people do sometimes where they try to seem cultured and they pronounce things in other languages in this very accented way to somehow seem like they're a worldly person, and people make fun of people like that. And I was like, am I doing that thing? And I gave it some thought, and I think, no, I'm not doing that thing. And here's the reason why. I thought of one of my friends who's from Mexico, and her name is Mayra. Now, if you spelled her name out, it would be Mayra, Mayra, I believe. But when I met her, I didn't know how she spelled her name. I just heard everyone referring to her, because there are other Mexican people. They're all calling her Mayra. And so I called her Mayra. And she was actually the girlfriend. She's now the wife of the drummer of my band. And I actually wrote a song about her because her and the drummer were having troubles, and she was often at our rehearsals and our gigs. And so I wanted to sing a song to her to pick her up, to believe that the drummer Carlos would actually come around, and eventually he did, and now they have a kid. If you want to listen to that song called Mayra, you can go to Spotify, go to Bread Knife Incident, that's my band, and listen to Mayra. For her, all of her Mexican friends and her were very impressed and appreciative that I actually pronounced her name right, that I pronounced it Mayra. And they were very upset that other Americans refused to say her name right. They kept calling her Mayra or Myra or all these other, and she didn't like that. And I thought about for myself how crappy that would be for everyone to pronounce your name wrong. Everyone keeps calling to you, and you're like, that's not my name. It's Mayra. It's not Mayra. It's Mayra. So that's one reason why I, as a policy, at least try to pronounce people's names in the way that they want it to be pronounced. If someone named Jesus from Mexico comes to Seattle, I don't pronounce it Jesus, I pronounce it Jesus. My dad's middle name is Gito. If you pronounce it in the Americanized way, it's Giro or Gyro. But that's not my dad's middle name. His middle name is Gito. When my ancestors from Japan came over to the United States 120 years ago, they had to change their names. They actually tried to explain what their names were. Their names were Zentaro, Wahei, and Shizuko, and other kinds of names. Names that I, with an American accent, can actually pronounce. It's not hard. Zentaro, it's not hard to pronounce. It takes a little bit of doing, a little bit of getting used to, but it's not impossible. And they actually just gave up on Americans and just changed their names to Joe and Henry and Jack and these other kinds of names, and Bill. And it's just sad, right, that they couldn't trust or ask white Americans to just try to pronounce this name that they're not familiar with. I mean, the foreigner has to learn a bunch of names they're not familiar with. You can remember one name, they have to remember thousands of other names. And so that's another reason why I try to pronounce other people's names in the way that they pronounce it. with Azan, Nicole and Azan. On the show, they keep referring to him as Azan, but it looked like Azan to me. And then I realized, I should call him Azan. And then someone emailed me from that region and said, no, you're actually pronouncing it right. It is Azan. I don't know if that emailer was right. But the point is that I believe, and I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I believe it's more respectful to at least try to pronounce the name in the way that they pronounce it. Another example is my name is Honda, right? Kirk Honda. That's not actually the pronunciation of my name. The real pronunciation is Honda. That's the way it's pronounced in Japan. That's the way my family, when we refer to each other, we go, oh, it's a Honda Civic. Oh, it's a Honda Accord. In the same way that it's not a futon, it's a futon. And it's not udon noodles, it's udon noodles. So there are ways of pronouncing things. Now, when you Americanize it and you look at it, it looks like Honda. But it's not Honda, it's Honda. Now, I'm so old now that I've just given up. I just call myself Honda, even to my family now. It's just become just a part of my life. But there's just all these examples. Now, there's nothing wrong with pronunciation drift, if you will. But we should try. And I can't imagine that Larissa would be upset that I'm trying to pronounce it in the way that she pronounces it. There's also this assumption among Americans, I find, that it's like, well, it's pronounced Larissa. You don't pronounce it Larissa, as if the American accent is the right accent. And so I don't want to be one of those ugly Americans. So I'm going to try to pronounce it in the way that she pronounces it. Now, it'll sound funny moving forward because I think a lot of people are used to saying Colt and Larissa, Larissa and Colt. I'm going to try to refer to her as Larissa, and I hope that that's okay with you. All right, let's get back to the show.
What's the plan with Aunt Debbie? I mean, is she going to live with you or?
Well, we're not sure yet. We're still trying to figure out the best situation for all three of us.
It's really complicated because it's Colt's mother, but live together is not easy, especially for a couple.
Can she come live with us? Because I'd be more than happy for her to pay
You say
half
now.
of my rent. No, not now. I say forever. She can come over to my house. I think that she is more of a blessing than a burden at this.
Okay, so actually she isn't giving that vibe, so I was wrong. Again, we have another triangulated person into the conflict between Colt and Larissa. Larissa doesn't want the mother to live with them. Colt clearly does. And he is dragged in to that conflict, and he is fighting Colt's fight. I think that Colt gives off a vibe of helplessness or something that other people feel compelled to step in. Some of you might have observed this in your own life. I'm guessing all of you have, either from any of these positions. Think about a friend out there that just gives off a vibe of defenselessness and helplessness. And how often do you get sucked into fighting their fights for them? As therapists, we actually find this a lot because clients will come in and they will talk about their problems, and there's this dynamic that can develop sometimes through projective identification. And if you want to learn more about that, listen to my audio podcast. I've done a number of episodes about that. You can go to my website, actually, and go to the list of episodes page and just do a search by projective identification. But through that, therapists will often feel compelled to fight the fights for a client. Now, sometimes that can be therapeutic, but sometimes it can actually be counter to help in that you are taking away the opportunity for the other person to fight for themselves, or taking away the opportunity to build someone up so that they can fight their own fights, maybe for the first time in their life, giving them the impression that you actually believe that they can do this on their own. And or participating in that sort of triangle that he is participating in, it just transfers the conflict or the discussion that should be between Colt and Larissa. Now the fight is between friend and Larissa, which further perpetuates the problem. If I were him and I felt sucked in, I would say, whoa, this isn't my fight. And I would pull Colt aside and I'd be like, so I want to fight against her about a number of different things, but I don't feel like that's a good idea. Are you talking with Larissa about these issues? Are you having sit downs with her? Because I feel like you guys have some pretty big incompatibilities, and I feel compelled to fight with her about it, but I don't think that's going to do any good. This is how you functionally triangulate usually. It's hard to say because every situation is different, but that's what my impulse would be if I was him.
For my rent. Oh, no, not now, not now. I say forever. She can come over to my house. I think that she is more of a blessing than a burden at this point.
We have so many little issues that make it
Difficult.
the life a bit hard. For example, it's here. I just put it here. She came in there and changed everything.
It's a sacrifice.
Okay, so interesting. I'm glad we're actually getting a little bit more data from this. That Larissa is saying that the mom, Debbie, will frequently passive-aggressively correct things around the house that she's trying to change. So she would put a chair and then Debbie would walk in and move the chair back. That is a potential passive aggression. You're trying to communicate anger and aggression and hostility passively or hidden in a hidden fashion by moving the chair back. And you could imagine that being very frustrating. Now, if Debbie were to be here and defend herself, might she say something like, oh, I didn't know I was doing that, or you don't understand what Larissa is doing. She's moving everything around, which doesn't make any sense. And so I don't know what to do. I keep moving it back because she moved a couch in the middle of the room. It didn't make, I don't know what Debbie would say, but at least we're getting a little bit more of why Larissa is so against Debbie living with them, beyond what the cultural notions are of just like, well, a grown man shouldn't be a mama's boy.
On both sides, for her and you, to listen to each other, to work with each other. Both of you gotta let some things go if you're gonna make it work out.
Okay, but why?
All right, so the friend here has a very, very good point. I don't know if it's going to work, but this is essentially what I've been saying, is that they have some major conflicts, but it's not like they can't work these out. She wants to not live with Debbie, and he does. That can be worked out. It seems like to some of you out there, it might seem like an impossible situation, but there's a way to make that work. You can buy a mother-in-law apartment or something that is behind a locked door, but it's on the premises and he can visit her more often, or she's next door, or I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to compromise in that area. And with her wanting to have more things bought for her, there's a way that they can accommodate each other in this way. And my contention about this relationship is that until they work these things out, these two issues out, they're probably going to continue fighting, and it's going to get worse, and they're going to hurt each other's feelings, and it's going to fling them apart from each other. And the friend is saying, you have to work these things out. You can't just both dig your heels in on this issue.
Why? I can't handle it. I don't have time. My life was
You have
hard.
to make time.
Nobody
She lives here and pays rent too, though, Larissa. You have to respect her.
I am concerned about Aunt Debbie, you know? She comes over and she says that she's hurting, but she wants her son to be happy. But she needs to tell him that that's not gonna work, especially if they're willing to kick her out on the street. I mean, that's stupid.
All right, so we're getting a little bit more of an opinion on this. Now, whether or not he's just taking this opinion because he doesn't like Larissa is unknown, but at least he's expressing this notion of like, look, there's nothing wrong with a grown man living with his mom. There's nothing wrong with that. And the two of them, Larissa and Colt, can be together, and the mom can live with them. And he's even said that he would like the mom to live with him because she's great. Larissa opposed to that. She's like, you don't understand how passive aggressive she is. Who knows what the situation is, but it is just a little bit more data. I feel like I'm sort of trying to head people off on the pass in the comment section, honestly, because I don't know, but I'm just predicting that a lot of people consider Colt and the mom's relationship to be 100% pathological, just based on the fact that they still live together and he's 33 and that he wants to continue living with her. That's why they call them mother-in-law apartments, because a lot of people have their mother-in-law, mothers-in-law, or their mothers, or their parents, or whomever, a family member or multiple family members live nearby. There's a lot of benefit from that. For those of you out there who have young kids, how great would it be, and some of you actually will do this, How great would it be if your parents, the grandparents, lived with you, or at least lived nearby? Often they have more disposable income, more time, maybe they're retired, and to be able to just drop your kids off at a family member who you will always have that attachment with and that you can trust with your kids. Now, some of you can't trust your parents with your own kids, but for those of you that can, it's a wonderful boon to parenting. Presumably, Colt and Larissa want to have kids, and so having Debbie there could help. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do by any means. I'm just saying that there's nothing pathological about it. And what the problem is that Larissa and Colt either never talked about this to begin with in reality, and they're refusing to talk about it. That's my issue. I'm just saying that both of them can be right, and that the fact that they haven't worked this out and don't seem to be trying to work it out, that's the problem.
But no, I mean, these things are hard.
What do you want?
I want everyone just to calm down and enjoy the house that we live in, enjoy each other's company.
Because his life is not hard.
Well, hold on. That's something that you want, though, is to calm down, to enjoy life, to work together? Or...
Yes. I mean, if we moved, obviously that would solve the problem of my mother and Larissa. But at the same time, my mother's 66 years old. She's disabled and older. I mean, she's the only family I have.
And you love your mother. I mean, she's been there.
So this is great. So the guy is just saying, okay, I want to know, we know what Larissa wants. I want to know what Colt wants. Does he want to move out or does he not? What does he want? And Colt is talking about his ambivalence. He's like, well, if we didn't live with my mom, the conflict would go away and that would be good. But she's the only family I have. She's disabled. I want to take care of her. So, he's stuck in that position. What I would love is if the two of them went to couples therapy and you talk about it. You talk about your feelings and you can bond and be on the same team around that. We'd want to get Larissa involved in that. Have Larissa say that she loves the fact that he cares about his mom. That's a good quality. But she has this preference and she wants to have a insular relationship. Nothing wrong with that. And then for him, he's, well, here's my feeling. And let me tell you what I've seen is that these situations, they seem like they're totally impossible. He wants to live with the mom. Larissa doesn't want to live with the mom. From the outside and from the inside, it can look like, well, this is impossible. I have seen so many couples work this out. And how do they work it out? Is through understanding. If Larissa were to tell Colt, I understand you. I get you. You love your mom. You care about her. That's a good thing. That's why I love you, because you're so sensitive and you're so nice and you care so much. That is just wonderful. If we had kids who cared about us as much as you care about your mom, that would be the best thing in the world. And I want to be with you and I want to please you and I understand your feelings around this. And I don't want to live with your mom. I find that she's annoying to me. Maybe that's my fault. I don't know. But also, I just have this vision in my mind of the two of us in our own place, free to be whoever we want to be. We'll have kids, we'll have our own parties, and your mom can come over, but she's not as involved. I want more of you because that makes me feel good when I have more of you, that kind of thing. And then for Colt, for him to say to Larissa, it would be something, and this is all engineered by couples therapists, is for him to say to Larissa, I get you. I understand that you don't want to live with my mom. I get it. Most people in your position wouldn't want to live with my mom. And I hear you saying that she can be passive aggressive with you, which, yeah, I mean, my mom, she can get kind of, strong-willed at times, and that's not cool. And my mom shouldn't be doing that. Part of that might be my fault because I'm sort of involving her in my fights with you. And so I'm really sorry that that's happening to you. And you deserve to feel loved. You deserve to feel like you have all of me and that you're my priority, because you are my priority and I do love you and I do want to build a relationship with you. And I just want you to know how it pains me to the deepest part of my core that I'm going to hurt my mom's feelings, because her and I are so close. After my dad died, we became so close. And really, I became dependent on my mom. She's the only person I have. And now that I'm transferring some of that attachment to you, it's scary to me. And so I just want you to understand that. if the two of them could understand each other in that way, in both of those ways, then it doesn't matter. Usually the couple, they're like, you know what? Let's do this or let's do that. It feels better. The problem is with that understanding, in all likelihood, Larissa is looking at Colt and saying, because he's choosing mom over me, he doesn't love me and he's never going to love me. And for Colt, he's probably thinking in his heart that for Larissa not to understand his love for his mother is an example of she doesn't really love me. And that's probably not what's happening. It could be what's happening because honestly, we haven't seen a lot of affection between the two of them. But assuming that's not what's really happening, that buildup of a lack of understanding and the narratives of the other person is the enemy usually results in divorce.
I love her. So.
You know, I tell you a story. My mom, she always says something that she says, nothing stays the same but your Aunt Debbie. And she said that my whole life. Aunt Debbie is true to the bone, true to the core, always will be. And my point is, Cole, I think that, you know, you owe her a bit of respect.
You don't understand that Debbie is not the scent that you paint.
Okay, so Larissa is trying to plead her case, and you know I'm going to take her word for that. She knows a lot more than we do, so maybe we're not seeing what the mom's doing, and maybe y'all have watched ahead and seen what Debbie can do passive aggressively. So you know, it's just a lot of question marks.
Regardless, this is her son. What I'm talking about is respecting her. Is respecting her as an elder and knowing what she's going through as well. You have each other, don't you? You have each other. You have each other. What does she have?
All right, so now he's really taking on Colt's fight on Colt's behalf. I just can't imagine that this is going to go over well. He is barking at her. He's escalating. I'm guessing for him, there's some kind of, he seems like maybe there's some traumas in his life that are informing the situation for him. And by the way, I think Larissa might have some traumas around this too. I would wonder what Larissa's relationship is with her parents, particularly her mom, that sort of thing. I wonder what's going on for Larissa and her history. And for him, he's getting real energized by this. And as a therapist, I've been here before. All therapists have, particularly in couples therapy. Couples therapy produces the most countertransference, meaning the most emotional reactivity, anecdotally from my experience and also training a lot of therapists. In that, as you're hearing both sides of the story, all of us have fights that we have unresolved and traumas we've had with our past partners or our current partners. And when we see couples fighting, and a lot of you watching this show, it's probably one of the reasons why people watch this show is because it provokes so much feeling in us because we've all been in Colt's position and or we've all been in Larissa's position. And so we're always hating at least someone on this show because of that reason, because we've been hurt and we transfer that into judgment and anger, and then we want to project that onto the TV screen. Now, if we turn that into corrective experience, then we're healing, and if we're not, then we're just perpetuating the problem. But for him, he seems to be getting triggered by something right here, and he's really getting involved in this. And what I would do for him, I'd be like, okay, friend, you're being a good friend, and you're trying to fight Colt's fight, and that's great. You're trying to stick up for him. What's the likely outcome of you having this approach to Larissa? Do you think it's really going to change her mind? Or are you just trying to push Larissa out of the picture? Let's calm down. Let's really try to evaluate. Let's remain differentiated. Your instinct, your reactivity is saying, let's get angry, let's yell, let's put her down. Let's really get aggressive with her verbally. But let's try to think. That's your emotions. Let's try to differentiate your emotions from your thought process. Do you think this is going to work? What outcome do you think is predicted from this behavior? So let's watch this train wreck.
Nobody will make me believe that just because she's Colt's mother, she's alone to make my life a hell like she does.
How is your life hell? You have a man paying for you. Your man pays for everything. Your man pays for everything because you don't do a thing right now.
Right. So I think he's justified in having some feelings. What would I hope that he would do in a situation like this? He could say something like, okay, wait a second. I'm getting off track. I'm sorry, Larissa. I'm getting a little hot under the collar. I have some traumas that are getting involved in what's happening right here. This is triggering some of my issues. I'm sorry. Well, my point here is that as I watch the two of you fight about money and about Debbie, it really worries me. I worry about Colt mainly because I like him, but I guess I also worry about you too, Larissa. You might be a person in my life for the rest of my life, and I worry about the two of you getting on the wrong foot. And I guess I, as an observer of that, am worried, but I also feel powerless. And I have this instinct to yell at you to make you change, but I know that's not fair to you, and I know that that's not right. It's probably not going to work either. So, you know what? I'm just going to tell you that I'm worried, and I'm here for the two of you, and I feel helpless, and I want to do something, but I'm going to refrain against that because I know that that's not right. You can say that, and maybe there's a bond you can develop with Larissa. Maybe she can say, like, more about where she's coming from. You give her a benefit of the doubt, that kind of thing. And as that happens, maybe there's a little bit more influence that could happen there.
And until you do and you understand respect, you're not actually going to understand the truth about Debbie or Colt or America at all. Because Colt obviously is infatuated with you. I
He
wouldn't.
loves both of you guys, and if you
America? Interesting. Again, I think, I don't know, maybe comment below. Do you identify with this guy? Do you want to yell at Larissa in this way? Because I don't know. By the way, when you comment below, try not to spoil it for me. Don't put things in comments that are like, well, in season 3, because I do read the comments, and if I'm going to do that, I have to be rest assured that you're not going to spoil it. And if you see someone spoiling it, maybe suggest nicely that they delete that, because then that'll ruin it for me, because I want to keep these fresh. But anyway, do you identify with him? Do you want to yell at Larissa in this way? Or who do you want to yell at, and what do you want to say, given what we've seen thus far? Let me know in the comments. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. If you haven't subscribed and you want to subscribe, then I guess I'm reminding you to do something that you already want to do. If you want to upvote this video, that'd be cool too, or downvote if you hate it. And comment below, let me know what you think. I do read the comments, and everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really do.